All right, everybody. Well, thank you for joining me for another episode in this long-running series called the Fliplogic Real Estate Show. The format is a 1-hour Q&A where we take your questions in the order that they're received. You can get your questions into the question bank there by using the control panel there below. Use the Q&A feature and get them in, and we'll run for an hour or until all questions are exhausted. We do this with a combination of a screen share, and we do this every Monday night at 6:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we do this to keep you informed, answer your questions, and get you doing more deals. All right, I'm joined tonight with my co-host, James. James, thanks for being here.
Yeah, you're welcome.
And we're going to open up with a few things. I'll tell you a little bit about a few things we're working on, so this can help you guys, help provoke some questions on your part. Because our priority here is we definitely want to answer your questions and get you doing deals and talk about your leads. All right. So I'm going to switch over to my screen share here. Can everyone see my screen okay? Let me check the chat box. If you guys would, just let me know. You can see my screen. You can hit me up in the Q&A. All right. Yes. Okay. Yes. All right. So we're good there. Okay. So one thing that I want to cover is before we get into anything else is I really want the topic tonight to surround how to help you guys get into more, do more leads, because more leads, more offers equals more closings, right? More leads, more offers, more closings. So I want to first talk about one of my favorite sources of leads, because there's really two different sources as far as favorites go. One, if you've got a budget, as you know, this is a business. Businesses, it takes marketing. It takes marketing to generate leads, and leads lead you to deals. One of my favorite sources of leads is a distressed, motivated seller list, right? And the reason why that is because the more off market, and I'm going to go over here to the direct mail resources here in the nav panel, and you can see here's a couple of sources here in the top here, number one for select and buy motivated seller lead list, because your best deals, your most profitable, and James can attest to this as well, is any lead that we've touched. The most profitable, biggest margins have always been from deals that are done off market, meaning it's not listed on the MLS, right? There's no realtor attached. And the reason why that is because it's more exclusive and there's no competition. Competition creates less of a margin, right? So to stay away from competition means that you're the only buyer at the table, and you can basically name your own terms, or at least you can without competing against another offer to drive the price up, right? That's a good thing. So off market is best, and the best way to generate off market leads is, again, through a list like listsource.com here, melissadata.com, or rebogateway.com, where, like Revo Gateway, you can actually pull several different types of leads. of motivated seller leads. Probably the top two being NOD and NOT or NOTS, meaning notice of default, notice of trustee sale. And then after that, you've got divorce, you've got property tax default, you've got notice of death certificate, you've got bankruptcy, and help me out, James, if I'm missing any. But you also have, I believe that covers it all. I believe that's the several that are there. And I would definitely recommend staying away from bankruptcy. It can just be messy. Notice of default and notice of trustee sale are by far going to be your most motivated sellers. So pulling that list is great. Now you've got a list of motivated sellers, right? Now you need to make contact. You need to let them know that you've got to make your offer, right? You got to let them know, hey, I'm a buyer. I'm interested in buying. Are you interested in selling? And one of the there's really only 3 ways you can do that. One is, and probably the best way, is a letter, right? A direct mail campaign like this template that you see here. You can copy and paste this template, and you can go to yellowletters.com, and you can put this template on theirs there. You can just type it in, and then you can upload your lead list, and you can mail it out. Now, yeah, there's a cost to doing that. I think it's going to be anywhere from, if you're doing a postcard, James, do you remember what the pricing is from yellowletters.com?
They just have different options. It depends on the letter you choose and the postage. Mostly it depends upon the postage. If you want to get letters out as quickly as possible, you're looking at like 79 cents each for first class postage, which gets the mail item delivered within 2 to 3 or 5 days. But postcards or just regular mails, they range under $1 each. I think the highest is 79 cents each.
Got it. Okay, so anywhere from like 50 cents to $1 in that price range per direct mail piece. Whether you're going with a postcard, or letter, and depending on the postage type, media mail or first class. So, but what's nice is it's a very personal way. And this letter that you're looking at there, this letter has generated, I don't know, I guess I'd have to go back and calculate, but this letter is biggest deal, biggest margin, $250,000. Actually biggest deal, over $500,000, like a long-term buy and hold. And, but just for your quick flip wholesale deals, I mean, this letter, this is a moneymaker for sure. It's tested. It's true. It's without a doubt, it works. You just have to put it in circulation to work it. Right. So as far as that goes, that's number one, direct mail, right? Pull list, mail it. Number two, pull list, you could skip trace it and you could do what's called a recorded voice message campaign, right? And James could talk about this a little bit, but and James, why don't you talk about a campaign that you're getting out today or in the morning?
Sure. Yeah. The list that we had pulled, we actually got it from the city for some city violations on properties. And that's how Ryan got his 4 units out in LA and then transferred and sold it to roll into his trailer park out there. And correct me if I'm wrong. Is it Alabama or is it Georgia? Where is it?
Yeah, Montgomery, Alabama.
Montgomery. Okay. So he then rolled it into that for more cash flow, and that was a code violation that he had picked up, in which we're now marketing to. And we picked up the leads. We picked up about 15,000 of them for like $60, and then we appended them, which means we got names and phone numbers to go with the addresses that we got from the city, which cost another like $425 thereabouts. So all in all,
talk about that so to recap. So again, pulling a list, right? You just pulled a different kind of motivated seller list, and there's lots of lists. These three sources are great sources. There's other sources. So another source that we went and pulled directly from the city, which was a code violation list. So again, step number one, pulled a list. Number two, instead of mailing this list, you're doing a recorded voice message campaign. Right. So again, that's the second thing I was talking about is you could do direct mail, or you can make a phone call, or number three is you can go door knock, which is, I don't recommend it. It costs more time to go do that and gas. So really your two primary best sources is to mail or call. Right. And then to be more efficient with calling, you can do a recorded voice message blast, or you could pick up the phone and dial. But the thing you have to do before that is you need their phone numbers. You got a list, but you need the phone numbers. So, James, how do you get the phone numbers for these property owners and addresses that you have on your list?
Used a third party to locate names and phone numbers, and it's a third party that you can look up online called, I believe it's Data Finder or Data Zap. You can use one or the other. It depends on your list that you have. If it's got names on it already, then you can use Data Zap. It'll be a little bit cheaper.
Got it. So I'm pulling that up right now. Can you guys see my screen?
Yep.
Okay, good. So here's the website James is talking about. It's datazap.com. So you can simply take your list, right? You can register, create an account. Basically, you just upload your .csv list, right? And then it will basically skip trace all of those within a short period of time, right? An hour or two, and actually put those phone numbers on that CSV list. Is that right?
Right.
You can then take that list and upload it to, like say Sly Broadcast. This is a ringless voicemail messaging app. And you got to check your local, telemarketing laws vary from state to state. Again, this is if you want to be as efficient as possible. You could then send out this voice message broadcast and hit, like, for instance, if you got a list like 15,000, that's a lot of phone numbers. You need an army of people calling. So you could either do that, and you could go both ways, right? Maybe, it's more personal. If you get somebody on the loan, get to talk to them directly. But you can hit all of those phone numbers within about an hour by you just record a voice message. And with the Sly Broadcast, you can do that. You call, there's a phone number when you want to upload a recording. You can upload the recording, and then you can send out something like this. I'll play one here. You guys should be able to hear it on my audio. I'll kind of lean in. And you personalize it to you, but imagine if you're using the 1-888 Cash Offer brand, how professional this makes it. So I'll play this real quickly to give you guys an example of a voice message broadcast recording. Ryan with 1-888 Cash Offer. Would you like a fast? You can then take that list. Sorry, let me give it Let me give it 1 second because I was getting some reverb there. This is a ringless voicemail. Local, tell them Ryan on their 888 cash date. All right. It's not, I'm not going to be able to do it because the live stream, it's got a delay, like a 15-second delay. So I'm not going to be able to play it. But it just basically says, hi, my name is Ryan with 1-888 cash offer. Would you like a fast and easy all cash offer? We're looking to buy another home in your neighborhood. If you're interested in selling, then please give us a call, at 1-888 cash offer, extension 101, or, hit the redial or send us a text, the phone number you see here on your voicemail. And people will do that. And again, as with anything, whether it's direct mail or a recorded voice message broadcast, your response rate is only going to be, 1 to 10%. The other 90 to 95% are either not going to call back, or if they do, they may tell you to, go jump in a lake. So that's just the nature of marketing in any business. But the key here, what makes this so successful is you have to have a good motivated seller list to then market to, right? So you can make your offer. So I wanted to touch on those things because it's very important that you guys are marketing, that you guys are obtaining more leads so you can make more offers, so you can make more closings, so you can make more money. So if you do have a small budget, those are the two things I recommend: buying a list, marketing to that list, be it direct mail or phone call or recorded voice message broadcast in this case. Number two, and then we'll move on here. Number two is you can use Craigslist, or whether Craigslist or Zillow, or you can use our MLS FSBO instant seller leads to call on, fixer properties that are listed as for sale by owner. Preferably, you can also call on properties that are listed with a realtor. Those situations with a realtor can be a little more tricky. I recommend going off market first off. Really important. Nothing like a good off market deal. If it's listed, it can get sticky because everybody can see it. It's on the market. It's easier to be circumvented. It's harder to negotiate when you've got a professional realtor in between, at least to the noob, right? to the newbie. If you're more advanced, then working with realtors can get easier, and they can become more of an asset and help move the deal along for you. But in the beginning, I definitely suggest going direct to consumer, direct to homeowner, through for sale by owner and off market. So with that being said, James, anything else that you'd like to bring up or cover or touch on with that?
Not at this time.
Okay. Yeah, I think we pretty well covered that. So moving, let me see here. I'd like to see if, again, if you guys have any questions, get them into the Q&A chat box there. The Q&A box, the chat box works as well. Q&A preferred, and we'll get to them in the order that they're received. But what I'd like to do now is I'd like to, now that we've kind of covered, some single family stuff. Well, lead generation, that works for single families, works for, that's preferred. But I'd like to go into something a little more interesting and a little more advanced if you guys would like to do that. I'd like to actually talk about some multifamily, more specifically a mobile home park pro forma, just to kind of give you guys an idea moving forward when we're talking about multiplying capital as you start making money period. But quick flips generate quick cash. And then I'd like to touch a little bit on mobile home parks, and actually specifically one that I'm looking at of buying in the next couple of months. I've already got one lined up. I've already talked to this seller. She's a motivated seller. She's not in any distress. She's just what you would call a burnt out landlord. She's a burnt out landlord. She's owned this property. Gosh, she's probably owned this property for 35 years. I'd say 35 years, definitely over 30 years. She's going to be motivated for a couple of reasons. Number one, she is an owner operator. So she's actually operating the property herself. So she doesn't have a property manager. So that's a huge headache for that. And that's why these properties like this, whether it's a mobile home park or an apartment building, when you have a landlord who's operating the building themselves, they definitely get burnt out. It's not worth doing it. It's worth paying somebody 10% to live on site and do it for you, right? Because it's a full-time gig. And you've got, in this case, you've got 80 tenants, who are going to have requests. They're going to have complaints. And it causes headaches. Number two, she's owned it for over the depreciation period. Mobile home parks, you can depreciate over 15 years. That's a huge depreciation in real estate. That's a huge benefit to owning real estate. Mobile home parks is a 15-year, which is considered accelerated depreciation because it's double the time. It's faster. It's 2x than what you get with a mobile home park, an apartment building. Apartment building is depreciated over 27 and a half years. If you wanted to see how that math plays out in this case, this mobile home park is probably going to have a depreciatable value of about $857,000. If you divide that by 15, that means you get to depreciate it $57,000 a year. What does that mean? Depreciation. Depreciation is a line item on your profit and loss, which obviously carries over to your tax returns. So if you have a $57,000 line item of depreciation, that means that it's a fictional paper loss that you get to use as an expense against your income. So if you made $57,000 in income and you had you got to depreciate your asset $57,000 that year, it's a wash. It zeroed out your income, which means that you pay no taxes on that $57,000 because that's the benefit of depreciation. But you didn't lose anything. It's just a fictional loss on paper, right? Are you with me? So that's over 15 years. Now let's imagine this is an apartment building. Let's take that $857,000. Let's divide that by the depreciation schedule of an apartment building, which is 27 and a half years. You get to depreciate it $31,000 a year. So do you see why mobile home parks can be so attractive from a depreciation standpoint, right? You get basically double the depreciation every year. Now, after that 15-year schedule, after the depreciation schedule, you don't get to depreciate it anymore. You've depreciated the asset down to zero, right? So the seller of this park here, she's owned it for about, like I said, 35 years. What does that mean? It means she lost one of the biggest benefits to owning a piece of real estate, which is she can't depreciate it any further. She really should have sold the place after 15 years and rolled it into another property, which she could then begin to depreciate all over again, right? So 2 things. She's over the depreciation schedule. She can't do that anymore, and she's owner operating, so she's burnt out. Okay. So now that you guys know those 2 things about this property, here's the really cool thing about why, people get into multifamily real estate to create wealth, and why it's so easy to do it. And I've got a dinghy going by behind me. So this property, it makes $250 a month in lot rent. $250 a month per lot. She's got 81 lots there. So she's got a potential rental income of $243,000 a year, right? 250 times 81, 243. Simple, right? Vacancy loss, you make an assumption for that. Typically, you assume about 10%. Mobile home parks are usually a little more stable. We're going to call it 7.5%. And that's because people own the home in this park anyway. It's all park-owned homes. So they're not going to go anywhere. So your effective rental income is $224. She doesn't have any other collectible income. So she doesn't charge, and I've written these notes in here because this is one of the things I'm going to do to add value. And this is what you're going to see why a little bit goes so far. And I'm talking about an increase in your lot rents, or in this case, we're just going to charge for water and trash, because she includes the water and trash in the $250. So I'm going to show you how much equity you can create, whether it's a big or small property. But I'm going to show you how much equity you can create just by raising the per unit rent of $50 a month. Something as small as $50, I'm going to show you how big of a multiplier of an effect it creates. Okay. And I'm going to show you on this line item here as soon as I get to the bottom here. So our gross right now, this is how the park looks right now. She's getting a gross of $224 after her collection losses. She pays real estate taxes, property insurance, management. She self-manages, but if you're going to hire management, obviously you're going to have that line item. Some repairs and maintenance here and there, obviously not on the homes because they're resident owned, which is nice, but you're going to have some random stuff here and there on the park utility side, streets, fencing, little things like that are going to come up. Of course, you got your trash, your water and sewer, phone, all of that stuff. So anyways, it comes down to $111,000 in operating expenses. This is all assumed. So the net is 113. So it's about 50% income to expense, 51%. And then we're assuming, when we purchase it, what our debt service is going to be, what our mortgage payment is going to be. So if you take 113,000, let's just round it up, 114,000, divide that by the cap rate in the area is about 7.5%. So it's got a value of about 1.52. Whoops, 1.52 as it's currently managed, right? So let's now take, I've already calculated this out. When you bump it $50 a month times all of those units, and then you're going to have some late fees too. I just ask me how I know that. The mobile home park business, you're just going to have about a third to half your residents. They're just going to pay late. They just are. And when they do that, you get to charge late fees. So I charge up to $50 a month in late fees. And so I'm assuming this in, you're going to collect maybe 90% of that too, because just let's assume collection loss, even on your water and trash bump and your late fees. So let's call it 60,000 a year. So how much is that a month? That's 5,000 a month. Over that 5,000 divided by 81 units, it's about $61 a unit when you add in the late fees. Now let's look at our new net operating income. Our new net is 173,000. Okay, so we haven't bumped it very much, nothing crazy, right? But now let's take this net operating income of 173,000. We'll round it up again, 174. Now divide that by the same 7.5 cap rate. What valuation do you have now? You now have a 2.32 million valuation. 2.32. Sorry, another cap rate. That's our new valuation. Minus 1.52. You've created 800,000 in equity just by raising your rents $50 a month and enforcing late fees. Pretty sweet, right? What's the benefit of that? Well, now at a 2.32 value, you can do a cash out refi of 75%. That's a loan of 1.74. So I'm not exactly sure what my purchase price is going to be on this thing, but regardless of whether I buy it, because I'm going to offer a 10% cap rate, and then we'll see if we settle somewhere in between there. 10% cap rate will be 1.15 or 1.143, but round up 1.15. And a 7.5 cap, I think, is close to 1.5, right? Or it was 1.52. So I think I'll end up somewhere in between. But when you do your cash out refi, you're pulling out your down payment, you're increasing your cash flow, and so basically you generate basically an infinite return. And this is why people, when they start getting into multifamily real estate, they can buy, do a little bit of value add, bump the rents just a very small bit, and then they can increase the value, do the cash out refi, pull their 25% down payment back out, still have more cash flow, and then now take the equity plus their down. So taking their down plus their equity out of it, and now you can roll it into another property and another property and another property, and it allows you to multiply your capital. So pretty cool stuff. I just wanted to share something a little more forward thinking in the multifamily space, and just the power of just creating a small increase in cash flow, or a small increase in the net operating income and reduction in expense, and how big of a effect that can have when you're using multiples that take effect in commercial real estate because of the multiplier effect of the cap rate. Pretty cool. And then from there, again, you get depreciation, and and that's why people fall in love with multifamily real estate, or, in this case, mobile home parks. All right. So, very good. So that's, let's see, how are we doing on time? 41 minutes. Let's see here. If nobody has any questions at the moment, James, I don't know if there's anything else that you'd like to add.
Not at this time, no.
Okay. I know we were thinking about going into Lido. I know it's a high-end deal that we're working on in Newport Beach. It's like I'll pull it up just for fun here, and then we
Sure.
can.
Yeah,
Mm.
actually I had muted myself to take a call from our last contractor. He said he's on the road and he'd sent out that bid yesterday, but sometimes emails and technology don't work out like we want it to. So he says he's going to send it later to you and I again tonight. So we should have
Okay.
that bid later tonight.
Did he give you any specifics as to what it looks like?
Just it's a written out bid with line item stuff that we want.
Or did
It's
he bring it in? Did he
bidding.
tell you what the cost was? Did he bring it in at 225 a foot, under 225 a foot? Did
No,
he mention anything about it?
no, he just said it should have been in my email yesterday, but it wasn't there. So he's gonna
Okay.
send it on over when he gets back to his computer.
Okay. And just to kind of fill everybody else in, I mean, this is a $7.6 million ARV. It's on Lido Island and Newport Beach. We have it under contract. We have a deposit in escrow. We've been working it. It's a complete fixer. The 7.6 is 2150 a foot. It's got its own like 50-foot dock for a boat, which would almost accommodate the boat I'm on right now. This is a little over 50 feet. This is actually 59 feet LOA, which is length overall. It's really considered or called 55 feet because that's really 59 because you've got a few feet on your swim deck and a few feet on the point of the bow. But when you're paying for 59 feet or 60 feet, you call it 60 feet, right? So, on the dock slip, because they charge you by the size of the slip. So it would accommodate a 50-foot boat. 2150 a foot is the ARV. So just like a single family house, when you're doing like a quick price per square foot multiplier to come up with your repair cost price expense, same thing. This property, it's just coming in at a much higher price per square foot. We've had bids as high as $360 a foot to a mid of about 270, 275 a foot, to our most competitive, which is actually a local contractor that James knows and does Muay Thai with, at 225 a foot. He said he could bring it in at 225 a foot. We're going to see what that looks like. And then from there, as with any deal, we firmed up our numbers. We're within our inspection period. We've got our deposits fully refundable. We've got it under contract at 5175. We've determined that we're probably going to need to sell it for probably for about what we have it under contract for, which would be about $1 million net profit, rehab profit, a little over that, $1,086,000, right? Depending on what kind of financing our investors use, right? If they go much higher leverage, let's call it 8%, they're now below a million net rehab profit, and their ROI dropped. So to get us closer to the $1 million, they're going to need to be at $5,075,000. Right? That's about a 15% ROI. I wouldn't be surprised if that's about where everybody's going to be, right? Let's call it $5,050,000. So if that's the case, then we're going to get feedback from our investors. We're going to present them the bid. Typically in wholesaling, we don't even get a bid. We just make our assumptions, because it's much easier to assume repair costs on, entry to median level priced homes. You're typically going to be at about 33 a foot for a heavy rehab on a median home. To do a full rehab and a new roof on a 1,500 square foot home, $33 a foot is going to be close to 50,000. There's obviously this is a much more custom and specific deal. So we got a few bids. Now we can represent this to all of our investors. They're probably going to want it around $5,050,000. But as soon as we get that commitment where they said, "Hey, I'm ready to go," as with any deal, I'm ready to go. I'm ready to sign. I'm ready to wire a non-refundable deposit, but I need to be at whatever. It's got to be at this price. Let's just say it's $5,050,000. Ready to close in 14 days. Just send me the contract and wire instructions. We'll sign and wire. Great. As soon as we know that, now we can go back to the seller and let the seller know, "Hey, listen, we're all done with our due diligence. We've spoken with, all our partners. We're ready to move forward. We've got good news and bad news. Good news is we are ready to move forward. We are ready to remove all contingencies. We are ready to close by such and such date. But the bad news is that the 5175, we've discovered that the math doesn't work. It just doesn't. Whether it's us or anybody else that you go to, the math just does not work. But here's where it does work." And we hit them with our number. So let's call it, we're ready to move forward at 4.85. 4.85 gives us a $200,000 margin. And then this way we can say, good news is, you can stop looking for a buyer. You can stop, going through the hassle and the heartache of reviewing offers and allowing contractors to walk through here and meeting with different agents and parties. It's all done. We could wrap it up all right now and move forward to closing. We just need to have you sign off on the addendum, reducing the price to 4.85. Right. So you'll find yourself in that situation. It happens, because not every time do you get the property at a steal of a price, or sometimes just the ARV is less than what you thought. In this case, ARV was not that difficult to determine. There was good comps for it, but the thing that really threw us off was the budget. The budget was, we thought maybe closer to $500,000, and it's almost double that, right? So throws off the numbers. Anything else you want to add on that, James?
Other than, like you had said, normally we don't get bids. We don't get bids normally on projects. Usually any investor that we bring in, they have their own number people to walk in and do walkthroughs. But on larger deals, it takes more time and consideration, and having somebody that well enough that would give you a good price could save a deal.
Right. It's more, this is not a cookie cutter situation, right? That's why investors and rehabbers love entry level, first time home buyer homes. They love median priced homes because it's a very simple formula. You don't need to hire architects. You don't need to hire designers, right? You don't need to use custom materials. It's just a very simple formulaic, open up the property. Maybe you do work with a designer. Obviously you want to stage it and do all of that and know your color schemes, but you're using pretty much the same types of materials. And you're going in and you're putting it in, and it's probably going to run you around $33 a foot. if you have to go do a full rehab in a new roof. So this, a little more custom. Cool. And James has done a really great job on this one. For those of you who don't know, James is, he's on our acquisition side of our team. And so he's very knowledgeable when it comes to negotiations, when it comes to, doing desktop underwriting, talking to sellers. He's talking to agents and realtors. He's, very knowledgeable and, really good at that. So he's definitely a good guy that, if you wanted to spend some time with him one-on-one, he's definitely the guy you want to do it with. He'll help you understand the ins and outs and how to be super effective on, getting into more deals and getting them under contract and making offers. All right. Well, I think that's a wrap. So thank you everybody for tuning in and being here. And we will see you all same time, same place next week. Until then, take care. Thanks, James.
Yep. Thanks. Bye.
All right. See ya. All right. Bye.